All right, everyone, more news out of Venezuela. You know, the workers' paradise so beloved by Salon and Vox and Bernie Sanders, at least until it started to collapse because Chavez socialist policies never made any sense. Now it's not real socialism anymore. Now it's somehow the West's fault. They've taken up like the commie propaganda line that's used by everyone who just wants to blame the U.S. for everything, even where it's quite clearly the fault of some actual country being fucking dumb. What happened last night is that some Venezuelan nationalists, self-proclaimed, got a hold of a police helicopter and flew it over the Supreme Court there and dropped some grenades on it. Now, some people are saying that some of them went off, and others are saying, well, you know, they failed. They just, I guess they dropped them and maybe didn't unpin them or something. Yeah, that's a little bit of a problem. It doesn't work quite that way. But they attempted to attack the Supreme Court, and protesters over the last few days have increasingly been attacking government buildings. Not just the courts, we're talking everything else under the sun, as the opposition realizes at this point the nation can't really heal from what's going on. The oil prices will not rise. The economy is screwed, will be for years. Number two, the government has unleashed communist guerrillas on the population to try to kill people, intimidate them, keep them from protesting. Number three, the security forces are doing the same. Number four, the court system is at least one major part of their suffering. The legislature is largely on the side of people who want reform there. Now, this ranges from people who simply want a new election to people who want to cut off Maduro's head and put it on a picket fence or something like that. But Venezuela is not really capable of recovering under its current regime. Maduro is acting like a dictator, not like an elected official. The excuse that's always trotted out by socialists and commies is, yeah, we're revolutionaries, but you can't have that kind of revolution because then we won't have socialism or communism anymore. Let alone the fact that we fucking sucked at economic planning. We ran the country into the ground. We alienated half of the world. And the person leading is constantly cutting people down in the streets with his private security forces and state-backed socialist militias. Just ignore all of that. We can't have like a free market because somehow that's a bad thing. It doesn't make any sense. Maduro, though, is not primarily responsible for the problems in Venezuela. To any Venezuelans that do still have the ability to get on the internet, it's actually Chavez's fault. Because Chavez never took the money from the oil sales during the years where oil prices were high and Venezuela actually made leaps and bounds. He never invested any of that in any other sector of the economy. He just nationalizes the oil, distributes welfare to people, and gives them the fridge and the microwave and stuff. That helps with human development. That's wonderful. It's fine. But the economy remained monocultured. Maduro takes over. At first, things are just fine. He keeps the same friggin' economic plan going. Oil prices are high. It doesn't matter. Venezuela's making bank because it has so much oil. But no attempt was made to increase the efficiency of oil output or to build something to refine its own oil, at least for its own internal use. No attempt was made to get foreign investment into the country in any serious capacity. No attempt was made to increase infrastructure other than putting up half-empty commie blocks. No attempt was made for the expansion of mechanized agriculture, the expansion of green energy, the expansion of anything. It's all oil. You know, the left here rambles all day about how evil oil is, while at the same time praising Venezuela, that's 85% of their economy is just, yeah, we sell barrels of crude oil. I always found that a little bit odd. When they were praising Venezuela, they were praising a state that was subsidizing literally everything that it was doing for years at a time on fossil fuel. Somehow this was not a horrible thing for the world environment at the time, because of course it's only the United States and Western Europe that are evil, or maybe Australia and Canada for using fossil fuel. But the producers of fossil fuel, they're just wonderful. Saudi Arabia, the left loves Saudi Arabia for some odd reason. They love Venezuela because they proclaim themselves to be socialists. But it appears that most of the population of Venezuela no longer uses that term. It appears that most of them are very, very pissed off at Maduro. I would be too, but you should take out your frustration first on any Hugo Chavez statues and stuff. I know they torched his child at home, and a few like monuments to him have been defaced. You should be like attacking and destroying them, because it's Hugo Chavez is the center point of your suffering, not Nicolas Maduro. Maduro simply continued Chavez policies, which, I mean, it means he's stupid. It means he's certainly corrupt. He's a tin horn dictator, a tyrant, and he should be overthrown. But Hugo Chavez, a lot of people, it seems, even here, like when I hear like self-proclaimed socialists or liberals talk about Venezuela, they're like, yeah, but Chavez was an okay guy, and look at the economy under him. That's because the oil prices were high. Just because he smiled and just because he didn't purge people because the oil prices hadn't collapsed doesn't mean he would have done any different than Maduro. No saint by any stretch of the imagination. Hopefully, the Venezuelan people rise up even more, and they start directly fighting to get rid of Maduro. You need to fight your way towards wherever he is and drag him through the streets like Gaddafi. Only this time around, you can be assured, you don't have a problem with religious zealots quite as much there as there were in Libya, so hopefully you don't get some sort of zealot government taking over, or at least trying to. Don't regress into tribalism. Just let the opposition within the legislature reform things. Thereafter, you should be appealing to the military, because they still have Maduro's security forces and state militias are formidable indeed, but they can't stand up to the Venezuelan military. You get the military plus the people, it's going to beat all comers. Another thing, of course, as always, got to mention, I do not support U.S. intervention in the region. While it would be wonderful to march in and kill Maduro and wipe out these communist militiamen, while that would be a wonderful thing and bring peace very quickly to Venezuela on paper, in function, I don't think it would actually help the situation. It would cause people to fear conquest or a takeover by the great Satan. I think that would actually hurt the situation. You'd have more fighting. Now, if these other countries in the region wish to get involved in some manner, okay, so be it. I'd like to point something out to people who say, well, this is a CIA op. It doesn't require a CIA op. It wouldn't matter if they were embargoed. The embargo doesn't matter. The oil prices collapsed to a third of what they were at, which means that the Venezuelan economy has shrunk to an almost undescribable degree. That's why there are problems there. That's why there's starvation and rapid inflation. They can't even re-import their own currency to prop their economy up. They can't they nationalized a bunch of foreign entities that were actually giving people jobs and helping at least a little bit to keep industry going there because of shortage, and they couldn't function. Yeah, if a Western firm goes into your country and there's a chronic shortage of goods that can't be imported because of central planning being involved in every aspect of importation, there's no free market, there's no free trade to actually do that with, yeah, they're not going to be able to work. There's no way for them to work. Maduro wants to blame them and say it's their fault the economy sucks. The economy sucked back when they were working, back when they didn't have chronic shortages at the earlier stages of their depression there. And this is not a recession anymore in Venezuela. This is a Great Depression in Venezuela at the very least. It's just shy of civil war there. It's a revolution of sorts. It's slowly mounting. It's going to get larger. Maduro originally, he didn't arm the state militias. He just used his security forces. Now he's had to give them their guns and tell them to go beat up protesters. He certainly hadn't nationalized the police in Miranda province. A lot of these problems at the early outset, people, I think there were long suffering. They're like, well, yeah, the oil downturned, it'll be back up. And then a year later, when the oil price was still low and you've run out of food and you don't have toilet paper, you're wiping your ass with bolivars because it's worth less than the rolls of toilet paper. That's at that point people started protesting. It's actually there was quite a bit of patience shown to the Maduro regime in the region. And that includes by other South American states too. Some of them that are now calling for Maduro's head at first said, well, let's let the situation play out, or, we're sorry people are suffering. We'll give you some aid. We're not calling for Maduro's ousting. I think it was around the point when Maduro said, oh, elections, what are those? We'll just change the Constitution. I think that's when people in the rest of Latin America realized, oh shit, he's not actually going to step down. He's not an elected official anymore. He's just a tyrant. That's about all. Peace out.